prime thing is you have to win.
Ill intent, violence, physicality, pain. Enough is enough.
All right, welcome back to the Just Win podcast. This is our Thursday edition when we will be previewing the next game, and the Raiders are going to be playing the Panthers. That's Tashan Reed. That's Vic Tafur. I'm Ted Wynn. Thank you for joining us. Raiders are coming off an electrifying win in Baltimore against a quality team, and now they're going to be playing a team that is not so quality in the Carolina Panthers that just benched the number one overall pick from last season, Bryce Young, and not just a number one pick. They traded a haul to get him too, and that haul included what ended up being C.J. Stroud. They traded DJ Moore, a bunch of other draft picks that ended up being quality starters. Like, this is a historic haul they traded away for Bryce Young, and they benched him. So, do you guys have any comment on what's your take? You guys think this is a good benching or not?
I mean, I think it's surprising. I mean, obviously, how short his leash was. Obviously, he was playing terribly. But again, I'm not sure what their expectations were this season. If they thought they were a playoff team or if they're trying to build for the future. Obviously, I keep saying obviously, but he's like a key guy for them. Like you mentioned, the Hall gave up, and I just think new coach, new offense. If there was going to be a short leash, then he should have played in the preseason to get more comfortable. So I think, again, he was terrible. There's no you can't you watch the film and highlights, he's awful. So I get where the other players in that team want to have a chance to win. I think maybe he's blocking that, but still, I think it's a pretty dumb move, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just David Tepper being David Tepper. I mean, he's been the most impulsive owner in the league probably the last 5 years. I mean, you just look at all the head coaches he's fired, all the different quarterbacks that they've had, some of which have gone on to resurrect their careers once they left them. Baker Mayfield going down to the Bucks and becoming $100 million quarterback again. And so, that's a terrible franchise for the last few years. That's why they keep drafting so highly back to back to back to back. But I just think it's too small of a sample size, especially what he's been surrounded with in Carolina. But, they do have a new regime out there, a new GM, a new head coach. And so, typically guys get shorter leashes when you have that type of change early on in your career. So it's not necessarily shocking when you add that in with how their owner tends to operate. But I agree. I think it's a bad move. I mean, it's only 2 games into the season. Like, he has played really poorly, but I just don't think that's enough time for a guy to turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing poorly, but 2 games in to pull the plug. I mean, they're saying they don't want to trade him, and maybe they're trying to express that there's a chance they go back to him and he needs this mental break. But I'm not buying it. Like, you sit the number one pick down, it's hard to go back to him, and at least for the same franchise. Maybe he goes somewhere else and he gets a chance down the line, but. Yeah, I don't know if he gets another chance in Carolina, or does he even want that with everything they've kind of put him through.
Plus, it's weird where the new coach after the game Sunday said, "Oh, he's my guy. He's going to play." The Monday morning, nah, he's not going to play. So obviously, I don't think it was totally his call. I think that shows like some people from above his pay grade, kind of said, "You know what? He's not going to play." So, but yeah, it's just that they put themselves in a bad spot after that. They keep making it worse. And so now here they are with a guy who's got no trade value whatsoever, who you've had no confidence in, and he had no confidence in himself. Now that's gotten worse. So it's at some point, like you said, point is a change of scenery, but I'm not sure how soon that will be.
And actually, I said the Hall became C.J. Stroud. That didn't become C.J. Stroud. They could have waited and got C.J. Stroud. Was my point. It was kind of funny what Dave Canales, the Bucks coach, kind of said. He said he watched the film, and that's how the decision was made after.
Panthers coach, you mean?
Panthers coach.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he was just kind of hiding David Tepper, or trying to cover up for him. But that I thought that was funny. But yeah, watching the rest of the team, I mean, Andy Dalton is going to be better than Bryce Young. I mean, how much better we don't know, but there were definitely open receivers on film. So as far as how it relates to the Raiders, like this is probably going to be a better Panthers offense than what we've seen. And also, we also have to recognize the Panthers played a couple of pretty good defenses early on. They played the Saints defense, which has proven to be a top 10 type of defense. The Chargers might end up being right now they're ranked, as a top 5 type of defense, and I think they'll probably end up finishing there um, down the line. So everybody's looking at the Panthers as kind of like a layover game, and they are one of the worst teams in the league. But I don't think it's going to be as easy as it seems right now.
I'm calling it homecoming week, like homecoming, like a high school or colleges. We like bring somebody in at the parade and big party and barbecue and kind of like halftime thing. It's just like it's. I mean, I think they're the worst team in the league. I think they got obviously Andy Dalton can complete a pass better than Bryce Young can, but at the same time, he's not getting out of the pocket. He's not moving anywhere. Where Bryce Young can actually escape some pass rushers. Andy Dalton's not escaping anybody. So I would think that Maxx and Christian Wilkins have a pretty big day.
Yeah, the Panthers suck. We don't gotta do this. I mean, their best
Yeah,
player, Derek Brown, he's on IR with a season-ending injury. Even if Andy Dalton is a little bit better, he's still Andy Dalton, and he's not surrounded by much. They have a couple talented receivers in Deontay Johnson and Adam Thielen, but this isn't a good team. Like this should be an easy win for the Raiders if they're going to be any sort of serious team this season. Which still to be determined. They're 1-1 going into week 3, still early in the year, coming off a big win against the Ravens, but wasn't like they played excellent that entire game. Obviously, they had to make a 10-point rally in the fourth quarter, but this is the type of game. I mean, home opener going against a team like this, you got to put your foot on their throat and close it out. So we'll see how it goes, and we're getting all that game predictions and whatnot later. But let's pivot into talking about the Raiders a little bit more.
Okay, I saw the first question on Tashan Reed's bullet points, and
My bullet
I
point
I
is
was a little shocked at it. It said, "Is Gardner Minshew's elite production sustainable?"
Gardner Minshew. He's leading the league in completion percentage right now. He's second in the league in passing yards. He only has 2 touchdowns. It's not that great. 2 interceptions, but I mean, it's pretty prolific numbers. It's top 2 in everything pretty much that matters. I mean, he's playing at a high level. But the question is, is it sustainable? So do you think it is, Ted Nguyen?
I got one more for you. Which team leads the NFL in explosive pass plays of 20 yards or more? Las Vegas Raiders with 9.
Wow.
I'm going to say the numbers are misleading, and it is not sustainable. But I mean, it helps to have some good weapons, and the Raiders do have some good weapons. So I'll say he's playing better than I thought he was going to play. But the elite production numbers are misleading. We're going to see some of those
Why are they
low
misleading?
Minshew valleys at some point too. So um, it's going to get there.
And there wasn't
I got
even
to
a
hear more
pause
about why
before.
it's misleading.
There's no
A lot
pause
of it
before
is
he got.
garbage
He said,
time. He played one good quarter. A lot of the production came from one good quarter, and he had like sporadic big plays against the Chargers game that, with a bunch of drives that led nowhere. So I mean, looking at the numbers from the Chargers game, you can, yeah, sure, he had some passing yards, but you cannot say the offense performed well against the Chargers.
well, that's why it's so exciting, because they've not played well at times. They've struggled. They can't run the ball. And they're still leading the league in explosive pass plays. So obviously, what's my deal? I've said obviously 25 times today. I'm not sure what that deal. But anyway, sorry, sidetrack. But yeah, it's through the roof, man. Offense is going to go crazy.
Yeah, in all seriousness, like I don't think he's going to be, top 2 in the league in passing yards by the end of the year. But he's been better than expected. I think I would say. Like I know you weren't as high on his performance against the Chargers, but like to me, he wasn't really the issue in that game. I thought he played fine, and last week I thought he was pretty good, particularly in the second half. Their issues on offense about whether it's going to be sustainable is going to come down to more so their issues up front with the offensive line. I mean, they still can't run block. I mean, they were terrible running the ball against the Ravens, terrible against the Chargers. Pass protection was pretty bad against the Ravens. I mean, they gave up 5 sacks, 10 quarterback hits. Like, offensive line is struggling right now. And while he's putting up some big numbers right now, he's not going to be able to do that over the course of a full season unless they step it up and this offense is able to be more balanced. And so that's the big question for the Raiders offense moving forward. Can this offensive line get better? You would think going up against the Panthers this week, they'd be able to put some good things on tape. But if they struggle again in this one, I think we're gonna realize this is a pretty big issue that they could carry with them the whole season.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Jackson Powers Johnson, baby, on the scene to save the day. Maybe make his
Wow.
debut on Sunday and save the offensive line, get the running game going, get the play action game going. I've become a homer.
Yeah.
I like it, man. It's the new Vic. Homer Vic.
Yeah, optimistic, man. I mean, yeah, it looks like Jackson Powers Johnson, he's been out the first 2 weeks due to undisclosed illness, but it seems like all signs are pointing towards him playing this week. He hasn't been listed on the injury report, and if he's healthy, you would imagine that he steps in as starting left guard, and maybe they can get this offensive line a little bit of a lift. Again, he's a rookie player. He's coming off of not a mix of not practicing and playing for a pretty long time, and I think Colton Miller's struggle at left tackle has shown us that there's no guarantee a guy's going to hit the ground running after a lengthy absence. So we might need to couch our expectations a little bit for Powers Johnson in this first game, even though it is going against the Panthers. But I think we'll be able to see for the first time this season that starting five that they envision come to fruition. So see if these guys are able to develop some chemistry and start to put things together a little bit.
Yeah, we saw him use both Whitehair and Pete last week, so I think you're going to see JPJ get some snaps here and there, kind of mix them in with Whitehair, maybe rotate series, kind of get his feet wet. But yeah, I think it's exciting. Luke Getsy today talked about how he's similar to Brock Bowers in that he's a very smart guy, knows the offense really well, is kind of ahead of the curve that way. And so he's missed some time, but he should be able to jump in and at least not be overwhelmed by the offensive play calls.
Yeah, and I think part of the issue with the offensive line watching the film is not just a physical issue. Like they're missing assignments too, and a vet like Colton Miller is missing assignments and blocking the wrong guy and that sort of deal. And you would hope some of those issues kind of iron out after a few games. I mean, it's been 2 games. Maybe after 2 games they will have some of their assignments down more, and it becomes a little bit more second nature. And hopefully inserting Jackson Powers Johnson there gives them some more physicality. But I mean, they also might have played 2 tough defenses. The Chargers have a tough run defense. Ravens, they were okay run defense last year, but I mean they have some talent obviously. And against the Panthers, they don't have a lot of talent on the front line, so you would think this would be a get right game as far as the offensive line being able to produce and actually get something going on the ground, because it's been like a 0 so far.
It better be. Shit. I mean, if they can't run this week, like I said, they got a big issue.
I think it's the league's worst rushing offense against the league's worst rushing defense this week. So it's special.
Bad on bad. We'll see which one's worse. But no, I mean, we've talked about it. Obviously, like the rest of the offense, they had to go through a scheme change this year, and they have a couple guys coming back off of injury. But at some point, you have to turn the corner. And Antonio Pierce is pretty candid when asked about the run game this week. I mean, he called it piss poor. He said there are some adjustments that they're going to make as a coaching staff, and he seems to think that they need to simplify things a bit when it comes to their run concepts and just focusing in on doing what the Raiders do well, and maybe not trying to mix it up, as often as they've done so far when it comes to their run concepts. But in terms of player performance, he pretty much just said guys got to play better. I mean, it's simple alignment, assignment, technique type stuff, and playing with a little bit more grit and physicality. And that's what Powers Johnson is known for. And so maybe he can be a guy to help set the tone for the offensive line, even though he's a rookie, and help them produce a little bit more of that. Because, I mean, he said that, the way that they've been running the ball so far obviously hasn't been good, but also the number of attempts hasn't been where he wants it to be. I think the number he threw out there for Zamir White, he wants him to get 20 touches a game. And I think he's only averaging like 13 and a half right now, so he hasn't come close to that. And so we'll see if they're able to feed Zamir White a little bit more and get him going in this one.
You should have like a little horn sound when you make a little fancy comment when people are like 20 touches for Zamir White. Like a little alarm goes off and people go crazy. But I think that's another reason why I have no fear of a letdown this weekend, because
no fear. You have no fear of a letdown.
No fear, because I'm telling you why. Because Antonio Pierce telling us that the O-line sucked. Imagine what he's telling the O-line. Imagine what he's telling them. I mean, so I think they know they haven't played well, and they know that kind of it's on them. So no one's celebrating this week. I mean, it's a big win against the Baltimore Ravens for sure. But again, I think when you're last in the league in rushing, you can't really doing the samba in the locker room. You gotta be a little subdued and kind of realize that it's a thin line, margin of error, and you're not doing your part. So I think that's why I don't see them having a letdown this week. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think Zamir White is a good game, and I think they'll be much happier O-line on Monday.
All right, so if the run game gets going, then Antonio Pierce needs to be in that O-line room every week, just lighting a fire under their ass and just lighting them up. That's the secret.
Yeah, you got to bring Richie Incognito back, man. He was around in training camp. Things
That's
were
right.
going well.
Where's Richie?
They got to bring him back.
That's right. That's the missing piece.
Well, one player that definitely does not need to get lit up or yelled at is Brock Bowers, who
Wow,
had
that
a
was segue.
huge
That was,
game for the
that was
Raiders.
nice. A good segue.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
pretty
that.
good.
That's
That
good.
was pretty good.
He's trying to do the Jimmy Durkin transitions.
I thought he was dead. I don't know.
Jesus,
Rest in peace.
poor Jimmy. Poor Jimmy.
Poor
He's gonna leave
Jimmy.
a typo in your next story. All the shit you're talking. Anyway, continue to.
Yeah, but Brock Bowers had a breakout game. I think they kind of said, "Screw the 12 personnel stuff. We're going to 11 personnel. Brock Bowers is going to be the tight end, and we're going to leave him out there and let him take advantage of these mismatches." And he was great. I mean, everybody's the fantasy football world is in love with Brock Bowers right now, and you got Rob Gronkowski saying that he thinks that Brock Bowers could be. Did he say better than him, or did he say
Better as a receiver.
Yeah, yeah. So, what was the team feeling around Brock Bowers right now?
I mean, remember, he's the first tight end in NFL history to have 5 catches and 50 yards each of his first 2 games. I think people see, the sky's the limit with this guy. I think just in terms of, he's a smart guy. He can run routes. He can go against man or zone. He can find the holes in the defense. After the catch, he's explosive. That's a tough guy. So I just think they're excited about him from day one. I think that we've seen that all throughout camp and even now. So I think, he's like the brand new toy. Really excited to get. I'm still waiting to see him in the backfield. I haven't seen him really kind of too many wild uses yet, but maybe it's coming down the road.
Yeah, I mean, since he's been as good as advertised, I mean, whether it's AP or Devontae Adams or Gardner Minshew, like they all kind of asked, like when they realized, Brock Bowers is going to be somebody, and they pretty much said as soon as he got there, and so they were obviously very confident. Whether that's the GM Tom Telesco, Pierce, the players, they knew what he was going to be, and I mean, so far, it's only 2 games, but he's leading the league, in terms of tight ends and catches and receiving yards and. Last game, obviously a huge breakout game for him with 9 catches for 98 yards. And, like you said, Ted, I mean, they pretty much went away from 12 personnel altogether in the fourth quarter. I think they used 11 on 85% of their snaps. And, I mean, part of that is they were trying to come back from down 10 points and had to throw the ball a lot and abandon the run game. And so moving forward, I don't know if I would say like the 12 personnel thing is dead. Like I do think they want to be a more balanced offense and run the ball more, and they probably still believe that 12 and 13 personnel are probably their best means of doing that. And so I think ideally as offense, they want it to be a little bit more balanced in terms of their personnel groupings and how they run things. But nonetheless, it's obvious that, Bowers is going to be a huge part of this offense, pretty much immediately as a rookie this season. And that's something that tight ends, one of those positions where usually it takes guys a couple years to get things going. There's a few exceptions every year, like Sam Laporta last year with the Lions, but Bowers looks like one of those guys, through 2 weeks so far.
Yeah, I don't think the 12 personnel thing is dead, but they have to be able to run the ball to have 12 personnel be effective, because when they have 11 personnel, they have all their best weapons on the field. It's just how it is, and they're just more dangerous when they have all that speed and mismatches on a field. Whereas Michael Mayer, part of the appeal of him is being able to run block, and it's just they can't run block collectively as a group right now. And Bowers is just like when I saw a clip of him just running a dig route where he just ran up straight about 10, 12 yards and broke inside, and it just looked different. Like you just don't see a guy with his size be able to explode vertically like that and make cuts like that. And it's just very, very hard for linebackers to cover. And when they single him out in those 1-by-3 formations, when he's by himself against corners, they can't handle his size. So I imagine we see a lot of that moving forward. And if the Raiders are able to run the ball, like I don't know if they're ever going to be one of the top running teams, but if they could at least be average and they add that 12 personnel into their arsenal, then this could be a very, very effective offense. But we'll see how the run game goes. Especially, we have a ton of discussion throughout the NFL today about how much too high defenses are playing. And we had Mel on ESPN say they should outlaw too high defense, which is kind of a crazy take. But the way you beat too high is you have to be able to run the ball. And right now, the Raiders have not been able to do that. So we'll see if they can get right against the Panthers. But let's get into injuries for the game. You guys want to update us?
I guess one of the bigger ones. I guess Maxx Crosby rolled his ankle second to last play of the game, but he's fine. He's taped up. He was at practice today. He's good to go.
Yeah, the other one, starting linebacker Divine Diablo, he got hurt toward the end of last game as well, both oblique and concussion. So he didn't practice. I don't believe he was out there either today, Thursday, so he hasn't practiced so far this week. And so it seems like he might be in jeopardy of missing his game if he isn't able to clear concussion protocol by Sunday. And so Luke Masterson, we saw him play a little bit at the end of the game, but also be interesting to see if rookie linebacker Tommy Eichenberg. He made his debut last week, but I don't believe he got any snaps on defense. So maybe he could get involved a little bit more if Diablo isn't out there. But outside of that, the Raiders are mostly okay. They have a few guys dinged up. We saw Tyree Wilson get back out there this week in practice. He didn't practice play last week due to a knee injury. He was limited in practice so far, so it looks like he might have a chance to get back out there as well. And I know we already mentioned, Powers Johnson. He was off the injury report this week, so some positive injury news on a couple fronts for the Raiders this week. Seems like Crosby is going to be fine, and they have a couple guys that might be able to come back. On the Panthers front, Ashawn Robinson, one of the defensive linemen, he didn't practice Wednesday due to a knee injury. We'll see if he's able to get back out there today. And Shot Tuttle, another one of their defensive tackles, didn't practice, and so they might have a couple guys out. But as we talked about, like this is mostly about the Raiders this week. They don't really have any injury excuse reasons not to beat the Panthers.
Yeah, and Derek Brown, who might be the Panthers' best player, was put on IR last week too. So that's a big deal. And another reason why they should be able to run the ball. And I was going to ask you guys, with Colton Miller's shoulder, is it his right shoulder that he had surgery on?
I don't think we ever found
Because
that out.
I was trying to watch, and I think I saw a brace on his right shoulder.
Trying to picture it. I can't picture it, but
I do notice guys kind of like going after his inside shoulder, so I was
right.
thinking maybe
I
it's
think
his
you're
right
right.
shoulder.
I think there's that
This is
shoulder.
what Khalil Mack tell you, Vic?
Yeah, he was.
He said-
He powered. He bull rushed him and was kind of hitting the shoulder all day. And I think it was the right shoulder, but I'm not positive. But that sounds right. He was definitely. I think, and people saw that. And again, I think it's maybe more so just rust on Colton's part than being physically unable to match up. But I think again, I think he'll be fine.
Let's get into our game preview. What are we watching for when the Raiders have the ball?
They gotta run the goddamn ball, man. I mean, that's we gotta see it. I mean, like you said a couple seconds ago, teams have played, a ton of too high against the Raiders, and they haven't been able to make them pay for it. So far, according to True Media, it's been on 56.3% of the Raiders snaps. The opposing defense has been in too high, which is the second highest rate in the league, and so teams have just been saying you can't run the ball, and the Raiders have been like, "Yep, we can't do it." So we'll see if that changes this week. I would assume that the Panthers take a similar strategy and try to make the Raiders beat them from that perspective. And like I said, I mean, the Panthers' run defense has been terrible this year. If they aren't able to get it going this week, I think there's going to be a pretty big red alarm for where this offense is headed this year.
Yeah, I think Zamir White's a big guy to watch. And I think a couple of guys who had good camps and not done much so far, Trey Tucker and Michael Mayer, they might get some chances this week. So I think there's a lot of tools in his offense which haven't been used yet, and still done okay. So I think that's an encouraging sign for Raider fans.
Yeah, look, this is another Vic Fangio-esque defense. They're going to run too high, and they're going to challenge the Raiders to run the ball. But the thing is, I think for the Raiders, you cannot just come into this game and just say, we're going to try to run the ball down their throats, and if it doesn't work, we're going to keep trying and trying. Like, they have to be able to have a pass-heavy plan in case the offensive line isn't quite gelling yet. And as far as the corners, they don't have bad corners. J.C. Horn, I think, has potential to be one of the better corners in the league, but he's been slowed down by injuries. They don't have bad corners, but I still think like you have to come into this game with kind of the mindset you had in the second half of the Ravens game, where if you can't run the ball, you have to be ready to go pass heavy. You have to be able to get the ball downfield to Devontae Adams. And I think, as far as the passing game, I think you line up in a lot of 3-by-1 formations, and you single up either Adams on one side and see if they double him. And if they double him, you have a route concept for Brock Bowers, who's in on the trip side, going deep or singled up on a linebacker or nickel, and you switch them around. Like you have Brock Bowers singled up on one side and Devontae Adams at the number 3 spot, and see what the defense does there too. But there are opportunities to go downfield, and I just think it'd be a mistake to come into this game trying to overly rely on the run game. Like obviously you want it to get going, and you hope like your adjustments and the simplification kind of helps with the run game, but you don't bang your head against the wall just assuming that you're going to be able to do it against this Panthers defense, because if you do that, you're going to open yourself into a trap game, in my opinion.
Well, based on what Antonio Pierce said, they're going to do exactly that. He said pretty much got to stick with the run and give it some faith until it starts working. And so he basically said, they can't get discouraged just because they have a couple negative plays or it doesn't work one drive. So at least through the first half, I think they're going to be pretty intentional about trying to get the run game going. But, like you said, I mean, we saw last week, that when it wasn't working against the Ravens, they pretty much said, fuck it, and just started throwing it every time. So, like, I think you can always do that. But I do think, I mean, not again, this is an NFL team, so it's not like they're just playing against stand-ins out there. But I do think this is a good week as any to try to establish that run in the first half.
Yeah,
certainly will.
I just think, be ready, have both game plans in, and yeah, I mean, it does help that if the Panthers can't score, then you could bang your head against the wall all you want. So, what are we looking for when the Panthers have the ball?
See if they got some Andy Dalton magic, man. I mean, he's 4-0 against the Raiders in his career. Quarterback wins, the most important stat in the NFL. Last time they saw him was not a good time for the Raiders. New Orleans Saints game and back in 2022, and they couldn't get past Anfield. But different team, different scheme, different year. Not super relevant. I know fans have been freaking out about it, but that's really the only intrigue is Andy Dalton. I mean, I guess he did have that start last year. I think it was week 2 where he threw for like 350 passing yards and then never saw the light of day again because they were trying to make the Bryce Young thing work. So, but that's really the only intrigue on this Panthers offense is can Andy Dalton give him some life?
I guess can Deontay Johnson do anything? Yes, he's kind of been a disappointment, but maybe it's all Bryce Young's fault. But he's really their best weapon on offense, I think. I mean, Miles Sanders is kind of falling off, and they got Chuba Hubbard's a running back. He's all right. I think Jonathan Brooks is on IR when he comes back, he'll be their best player in offense. But until then, they don't have much, and I think that's part of the reason why Bryce Young had some trouble because he didn't have a lot of talent to work with, either a front or a receiver or a running back. But apparently, it's his fault. And again, he was bad, but I just think this team has a chance to go 0-17.
0-17. Wow.
Nah.
I mean, they could. They suck. They are bad. So
I don't like this. You guys are sounding way too confident. Like this
I'm going
towards bad.
Raider fans like, "Oh, you guys are gonna jinx us," and I'm doubling down. I'm tripling down. I'm gonna jinx them.
yeah.
I got the t-shirt gun, and throwing up.
What are you worried about something on the Panthers offense, Ted?
What worries
No,
you, Ted?
I think you should be. I think they should be very aggressive. Like I think I would like to see them come into this game with a similar plan like they did against Chargers, where they're blitzing a lot on early downs and really testing the communication, testing Andy Dalton, and just kind of in a way disrespecting the receivers. Like you can't beat us, so we're gonna come at you and you know
He's
make
80,
sure that you
he's
don't
80
get
years
anything.
old, so they're gonna go after him. He's old.
Yeah.
He can't move.
Yeah, and Patrick Graham has blitzed a little bit more than he did last year, and yeah, I want to see him come in with the aggressive game plan, try to get some TFLs. Don't give him any hope. Maybe the Panthers have like a little mental or psychological boost. Like we got Andy Dalton in now. He's going to hit some of our open receivers.
That's definitely a nice boost, but I think, like you said, I think the pass rush will be there, the blitz a little bit. I think Spillane gets a sack this week. I just think this is a good defense. I mean, I think they got Christian Wilkins. He's been as advertised. They haven't really missed Coons too much yet, knock on wood, but the linebackers, Spillane's been great. And secondary's held up. I think Jack Jones has played well. Troy Bennett has really answered the call. So I think safeties are good. So I think it's a legit good defense. And legit good defenses don't have trouble with bad offenses with a 50-year-old quarterback at home in their home opener. So again, I'm tripling down and whatever, but I just think it's a good matchup for the Raiders defense and for their offense.
Yeah, and I also think it sends a message to the defense too. Like we're not going to just sit back.
Yeah.
Like we're going to come after him, and we're going to be very aggressive, especially early on. I think that's kind of sets a tone. So I want to see that, and I also want to shout out Robert Spillane. I mean, I don't. People were saying PFF gave him a bad grade, but I do not understand how he got a bad grade for the Ravens game because I thought
We
he
don't
was
give a shit about
all over the
PFF
place in the run
grades.
game.
Exactly. PFF grades.
We got eyes. We can see him play football. He played a great game.
Are they based somewhere like in Holland or something like that? I mean they're nice guys, but
Yeah, I mean, Spillane, I thought it was phenomenal against the Ravens, against the pass, against the run, and it's just kind of continuing and building on what he's done. So I have, it's not like I spend a ton of time studying linebackers, but I mean, he's got to be a top 10 linebacker in the league. Like, this guy's making plays all over.
Since the start of last season.
Yeah, and if you factor leadership, you factor in kind of like the juice he gives the team. I think Pierce said yesterday, he's like Maxx Crosby on a second level. Same kind of mentality, same kind of energy, same kind of work ethic, and just kind of pushing guys to be better. Just I was shocked last year how good he was, and he's gotten better. So I just think he's really been a great fit, and you can't. I can't imagine they don't get a new contract at some point, and it's a nice one. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into our matchup of the game.
Ooh, matchup of the game.
I think I'll go with the Raiders' interior offensive line. New look with Powers Johnson if he ends up making his debut at left guard. Andre James at center, Dylan Parham right guard. I think they've been pretty bad this year. That interior offensive line. Not that the tackles been great. Like I know we got a lot on Miller and Thayer Munford had a rough game last week as well. But when you factor in both running the ball and pass protection, I think the interior offensive line has probably been worse than the tackles. And this should be a matchup they're able to take advantage of. We mentioned Derek Brown is out for the Panthers. Even two other defensive linemen that they have, Robinson and Tuttle, they're injured right now and playing through injury. This is a matchup they have to be able to dominate, establish the run, but also keep Gardner Minshew from having to get hit so much and escape the pocket so much to make those plays in the pass game. And so I think that's what I'm watching in this game, seeing if they can manhandle the Panthers up front and make this offense look like what Pierce wants it to.
I'll say Jack Jones against. I imagine he'll be on Johnson. I think Jack Jones, throughout training camp and last year, big time playmaker. He's played well so far. He had a big pass breakup last week, but I think it's been overdue now. See, pick six. I think a big play from Jack Jones and some turnovers in secondary. So I think the secondary will feast because of the pressure on the Dalton. So I think at least 2 or 3. I'll say three interceptions. So I think that's a look at Jack Jones.
3 interceptions?
Not for the secondary. For the
well,
not for Jack Jones.
okay.
I just think that I think we saw Jack Jones like he was a dominant player last year, and he was in training camp, and even in preseason. He's kind of taking the back seat so far, but I think it's a good matchup for him. I think he'll be able a chance to jump some routes and make some plays.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the corner receiver matchup, but I'm gonna go on the other side of the ball. I have less faith that the Raiders' run game is gonna get going as efficiently as you guys think is gonna get going. I think they're still gonna need some explosive pass plays, and
Negative.
I think we'll see some I think they're gonna let J.C. Horn get some one-on-ones with Devontae Adams or Brock Bowers. I mean, they're going to see Devontae will see his fair share of doubles, but there are going to be opportunities for him to go one on one with J.C. Horn, and I think they're going to single up Brock Bowers outside too. And when they get those matchups, are they going to be able to complete and finish those big plays? And I think they'll be able to. But to me, that's what I'll be watching for on the offense. All right, X factors.
Andy Dalton. That's my guy, man. I'm rolling with Andy Dalton. See if he can give the Panthers any sign of life in this game. If not, then they'll get eviscerated. Just go with the quarterback. I mean, every week you've had the quarterback, so just say Andy Dalton too, and we can keep it pushing.
I got to change it up.
Jackson Powers Johnson.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, he's getting inserted in his line. Big hype around him, and he's should be the most physical Raiders offensive lineman. We'll see if he can kind of give this run game a little bit of a boost.
I got one. X factor is going to be Luke Masterson / Tommy Eichenberg, because I think Divine Diablo has had some issues the first 2 weeks. I think Pierce is really high on Eichenberg, and Masterson's solid. I think those guys, if they play well and are solid on defense, don't make any mistakes, you might see them push Divine down the road a little bit. Eichenberg may make a pitch to play more often than he has been. So my X factor is that linebacker spot if Divine can't play.
Let's get into our predictions. I have a feeling which way this will go, and Raider fans might not like it.
I'm gonna go Raiders 27, Panthers 7. I think they're gonna kick their ass because they suck.
I'll go 34-13 Raiders. I think it's, like I said, it's homecoming week. And Zamir White is your prom king this week. It'll be a nice little parade.
It was his birthday Wednesday, so he's got some extra juice
Birthday,
this week.
prom
Yeah.
king. I think he gets right. I think the O-line plays a little better. I think Zamir has had, even though he's not done well, he's had some flashes first his plays where he had a nice run to the Chargers. Obviously, Bosa punched the ball out. I think he had some nice runs on the stretch last week. So I don't think he's totally been a lost cause. So I think Zamir White has a bounce back week. And I think it's a pretty easy win. It should be an easy win. I think they're focused and motivated for their home opener. So easy win for the Raiders.
What's the spread for this game?
I
want to say
Raiders are 7-point favorites.
I think
it'll be a little closer. I think I'm gonna say is a little closer than people think. I'm gonna say 23-17.
Panthers cover.
Wow.
So we all again, and this will put the end to all this ridiculous Jinx talks. Then we all pick them to win. They're gonna win, and we'll all raise our caps on Monday.
If they lose,
this could go
I don't even know what
sideways.
If they lose, Raiders fans are gonna blame us. That's fine.
We might have to do a Bryce Young and bench ourselves for our predictions for a few weeks.
He benched himself.
Yeah.
Poor bastard.
Or Neil, our producer, has to bench us.
Oh, Neil can jump in and pick the Panthers to prevent the Jinx. Come on, Neil, jump in and pick the Panthers. He's a Raider fan.
That is not happening.
It's not happening. It's not happening. Sorry, guys. We tried.
The Jinx lives, but it won't live. It's all good.
All right, let's get into fan questions from Aussie Smith 1. Bryce Young, would you take a punt and trade for him? Confident shot, but Carolina makes the Raider organization looks completely sane. Darnold and Mayfield showing what can be done away from there. Could Young do the same?
I don't know if Carolina makes the Raiders look sane. Oh, wait. He means that in the positive. Okay, good. I thought he meant like the Raiders are worse run than the Panthers. But anyway, I think I would take a flyer on Young. I mean, I think people kind of are getting on the Panthers for taking Young number one, but like I think a lot of people would have taken him number one over CJ Stroud. Like hindsight is 2020. After Stroud had a great season last year and looks good this year, to say, oh yeah, I would have definitely took Stroud. But there are a lot of teams that would have took Bryce Young, including the Las Vegas Raiders, who tried to trade up to number one to draft one Bryce Young. Obviously, that was a different regime with former GM Dave Ziegler and former head coach Josh McDaniels, but I think Young still has some people around the league who view him as a talent that could be salvaged, and probably think that he hasn't really been given a fair shot with the Panthers, given all the different head coaches and play caller changes and not being surrounded by much, and the way that the owner has handled things. And so I don't think he's dead in the water by any means. I think we've seen quarterbacks just as bad, if not worse than him, like Sam Darnold, get traded for multiple times and get a bunch of money and get a chance to resurrect their career later on. And so I'd probably be interested in doing it. I know Minshew's playing well right now, but I still don't know if he's the long term answer for them moving forward. And there wouldn't be much pressure on Young to play. Given what he's just gone through. And so if the Panthers are trying to dump him at the deadline for a mid round pick or something like that, I don't see why not.
Yeah, it could be a good long-term play. I think kind of got to really build his confidence back up. But yeah, the Raiders are the home of the former first-round picks. There's been the history throughout, always good guys who didn't make it the first crack and kind of have that mystique about him. And I think, yeah, he's been really bad, and I think go back to his college tape to find some positives. But he was the number one pick for a reason, and he was not the one people really had a problem with. No one said it was a bad pick. So I think that skill set's still there, the ability to read plays and get rid of the ball quickly. So, yeah, I wouldn't object to taking a flyer on him if he's available at some point.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think even a mid rounder would be a little pricey for Young's value. His value right now is very, very, very low. So, I mean, if we're talking about a fourth, maybe fifth.
I mean,
Maybe
people draft backup quarterbacks in the fourth round all the time. Like, those are guys that they intend never to play. So I think a fourth round pick for a former number overall pick is fine. It's fine.
I'm sticking with my fifth. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm walking away from the table if they want
That's
to.
good. Yeah, stand himself.
Got to be a tough negotiator. The Raiders
Play
at least
hardball.
many times.
Yep.
Didn't what's his name from the 49ers? Didn't they get a fourth for him?
The Trey Lance.
Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like with Trey Lance, there's still like a kind of we don't know what he is factor yet.
Wait, you're saying
do you know what Bryce Young is?
I mean, he's been pretty terrible. It's been pretty bad. It's been pretty bad. With a lot more game film than Trey Lance did at the time. All right, next question. If the Raiders end up being legit and make the playoffs, will you eat crow considering before week 1 you insinuated that you thought they would be ass? C. Dotson 91.
Who said they'd be ass?
I see that?
Well, no one said
insinuated. I mean, I kind of insinuated they'd be ass. I picked them in 7 games. Like that's
I had
border.
Yeah. I think ass is like 3 or 4 wins. That's not 7 wins.
Yeah. It's more so mid.
Panthers are ass. Raiders, no one's not going to be ass.
No,
the worst case scenario was like 7 wins. So
yeah, we had them like strongly mid for sure. Yeah, to use the kids' terminology, but yeah, I mean, I'll eat some crow, I guess, because I mean, I definitely didn't have them making the playoffs. Like 7 wins in the AFC probably is not getting that done. So yeah, if they end up being a 10-win team and get in there, I'll definitely give them their praise. But it is week 3, so we'll see.
Yeah, put some hot sauce, but your crow tastes good.
Yeah, I mean, it's always funny because like fan expectations are always like much higher than what's realistic. And then
fans went from this team's great before week 1. After week 1, fans like, we're fucking horrible. The season's over. We suck. And now the fans are like all over the map. So fans
like the expectations are always super high. They don't always meet it. But then when they do meet it, it's like, oh, I told you.
Fans are more fickle than we are as far as the highs and lows. Like, I mean, they're ready.
Yeah. But I mean, I think I think I predicted
Fake.
them to have a slight winning record. I don't remember my
Yeah,
exact
we're all in
prediction.
7, 8, 9 range, so I think no one thought they were going to be ass.
Yeah.
How many times can we say ass in my podcast? More than I said.
No, you might get demonetized. I'm saying that shit. That's another cuss word. Anyway,
All right. I think that's it for fan questions. We
Can we say,
don't have
booty?
two on
Is
the
booty
list.
better? Is booty?
Huh?
Can we say
Booty works.
Is booty better than ass or worse than ass?
I think it's the same.
It's
It's
the same
equivalent.
thing.
All right, booty,
Yeah.
booty.
Yeah.
Booty.
Anyway,
Okay. All right. That's it for fan
Booty,
questions.
booty. All right. So we all ignore Raider fans, please, to pick the Panthers because we don't give a shit about the fans. We're honest. We're having it real. Keep it real. So three wins. Ted has the Panthers covering the spread because he's a chicken. That's fine.
yeah.
Hey, I had Raiders +4 last week. That was the closest one. So
That's valid. That's valid.
yeah. I mean, I don't think. I just don't. I mean, I know how it looks. I just don't think this Panthers team
What to
is
say? Like, what is like the
that
have they like lost by average of like 40 points this season? Like, what is this coming from? Like,
the Saints. The Saints just destroyed the Cowboys.
It's probably more because of the Raiders' history, because the Raiders have done this in the past. Raiders have
Yes.
So, I mean, that's probably part of it. Like, you have
yeah, but Ted seems to think that the Panthers are not horrible, and they obviously are horrible. Like they are awful.
They're bad.
It's a bad football team.
I just think they're a little bit more on the, a little better on the bad scale than people are giving them credit for.
Apparently, like in his phone room on his wall, all the little diagrams, he has a little picture of Andy Dalton smiling. That's his guy, I guess. Fine. If you think Andy Dalton can do it, then God bless him.
Yeah, and they get the Andy Dalton jolt. Come on.
Andy Dalton jolt. It's real.
Yeah.
He's a good
We'll see.
jolt.
But thank you for joining us. Make sure you subscribe, like on YouTube, and subscribe on wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure you tip Vic. You might get him to come out of his singing retirement if he gets enough tips. So,
I'm singing on the street now for money. I'm like in the corner with my hat. So I got my share singing just fine.
Yeah. But thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you Sunday live after the game. So be on the lookout for the live link.
No Jinx.
Sure. Peace.
No Jinx.
Whoa. Later.
What is
cool.
this?
That was nice.
What is that?
That's a new feature right there.
Neil, is that Neil's doing? What is that?
It wasn't me.
Neil, was that you?
That was definitely not me. That was not me.
It wasn't you?
No.
It doesn't.
Try again. That was awesome. All right, we'll work on that.
Oh,
All right, adios.
all right, y'all. Peace.
All right.